Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Zonta Club of Santa Clarita Valley's Life Forward Workshop, Surviving Back to School with COVID-19 with Uncertainty, with the presenter, Cassie Eads. She's a parenting and teen connecting coach. Thank you for joining us this workshop this morning. I am Beth Heiserman, Vice President of the Zonta Club of the Santa Clarita Valley. I would like to introduce our president, Nicole Miller, who has joined us today. Thank you. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the chat and we will be able to answer your questions. To make all of our guests comfortable today, while we are recording this workshop, we have privacy settings. Feel free to click on the stop video to disable your camera, and we would appreciate that everyone be muted until we do the question and answer. Please feel free to share this presentation with your friends and family, and please visit our past workshops on our website, scvzonta.org. And now I present Phyllis Walker, Chair of our Life Forward Committee.
Welcome everyone to Zonta's Life Forward Workshop, Parenting for Success, Winning Regardless of the Unknowns. Survive back to school pressure with COVID-19 uncertainty. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker, Cassie Eads. Cassie is the creator of Listen Within to Win, an educator and speaker that specializes in parent and teen connecting coaching. Cassie is known for her authenticity and honesty in addressing real life struggles families often face in silence. She brings to light perspectives and skills to improve relationships within a home immediately. Her unique ability to work with both parents and children and her personal experience as a parent allow her to yield excellent results. She raises the self-understanding and awareness of each person and then unites those involved to facilitate and support the practical application of the skills learned. She is determined to bridge the gap with you and your child and have a hand in lowering youth suicide rates. It takes a village to survive the pressures of parenting and raise emotionally healthy kids. Her vision is coming to life as her company expands into other states and cities. And now, Cassie, the stage is yours to share your expertise about how to cope with the continuing pandemic impact on our lives.
Well, good morning. Thank you for that nice introduction, Phyllis. Thank you guys for having me. Well, as she said, guys, I'm Cassie, and I'm here to have a conversation. It's always nice to connect with other families, other parents, and just having real talk. I want to Sorry, I went to mute, guys. It's not sharing my presentation. Let's go here. There we go. I want to introduce you a little bit more about me so that you kind of know where I'm coming from and why I talk about the things that I talk about. Right off the bat, I'm not your traditional facilitator. I'm very real and honest. So if I ever say anything that rubs you the wrong way, just ask a question and let's talk about it. There is so much to be talked about, and oftentimes we hold back a lot, and I don't want to do that here. What I have found in my experience is that most of us are dealing with difficult things within the house or home or personally, but we kind of shield it and we hide it. And we're not going to do that today. I'm going to just share a little bit about how I came to do this work. Like many of you, being a parent is the greatest joy of my life. And from the moment I became a parent, you start checking off the boxes. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Doing everything right, the roof, the food, the job, the schooling, the clothes, they have to have everything they need. And you have this idea that you can manage it all and have them all prepared for everything. And I am that mom that checked all the right boxes. I'm present, I'm communicative. I just do all the right things that we're supposed to do. And I had an 8-year-old kid come to me and tell me he wanted to kill himself. And that rocked my entire world. It opened my eyes into insight that a lot of our young people, a lot of our kids are having thoughts about whether it's suicidal thoughts, not all of them, no. However, it's a very common word being used nowadays. And there's a lot of self-doubt, a lot of worthlessness feelings, and there's a lot going on. And what I learned most is it's a lot about the things you don't know. It's the things that everyday language that we use. It's the everyday interactions that we have that give us these opportunities to grow. So being a mom that checked all the right boxes and having a kid that wanted to kill himself at age 8 really made me stop and evaluate my entire life. And it's interesting because you have to be able to look at everything in life and not take everything personal. My kids opened up a doorway for me to grow and to learn. And now what I get to do is I get to work with other families and I get to teach skills and actually help people effectively communicate and rebuild connection. I know it sounds simple, but believe it or not, it's not that simple. For some reason, parenting makes us feel like this. And I don't know if you guys can relate, but the last 2 years of parenting, this has been our life. And juggling and being crazy. And I kid you not, we've had days where we've just had to, and no joke and no judgment, guys, but we've jumped up and down on the couch and just screamed to release energy and to release frustrations and to hit reset to start over. Because the one thing that we all have to understand, whether or not you're 5 or you're 10 or you're a parent, we're all dealing with these new territories of unknown circumstances, unknown emotions. It's a wild ride right now. Today in this presentation, I get the opportunity to share with you a few things. And I want to talk about some, just exploring ways to create ease and flow. We all understand that we're facing a lot of unknowns right now. We don't know what tomorrow holds. I want to introduce you guys to the thought and idea of being flexible around education. The kids are going back to school. Everybody's feeling the weight of the going back to school. I get to work with a lot of kids, and some of their stresses are probably things you wouldn't even think about or consider that your kids are thinking about. So I want to introduce some of those topics to you. A skill that's really huge for me that I really want to drive home today is creating a safe space for talking and communicating, an open talk space. And this is a big concept, and we're going to dive into that a little bit further because I want to set you guys up to win. And I want to give you guys the skills that you need to be able to walk away today and take some kind of action step forward to communicate and connect with your child. Also, the other big part of that is creating clear expectations. It is amazing to learn how we automatically put things on ourselves and we make up stories, all of us. Your kids do it. We make up stories about what we think you want from us, or they're making up stories of what they think you want for them. And it spirals and it gets to be really heavy. So we're going to talk about these things today. The fact is, all of us are living in uncertainty right now. We don't know about school. We don't know about mask rules. We don't know about COVID. We don't know what our life's going to look like in 6 months. Excuse me. Whoa, excuse me, guys. And the kids feel the same way. The one thing that we do know is we're all finding our way through a new normal. And these are the things that are the same for all of us. We're facing everything is unexpected. We don't know what's coming. The emotional roller coaster ride that we have all been on and continue to be on, it's part of the new norm. And it's learning to deal with those emotions, learning to communicate about them, learning to connect and relate to one another so that we can move through them together. And the other fact, guys, is it's stressful. Parents, we have so many things on our plate trying to figure out if school's shut down. I don't know about you, but I work. It's like, what do we do with our kids? How do they survive in the house? How do we take care of them? And then it's the same for our kids. They're wondering about their education. They're wondering about their friends. They're wondering about how they're going to survive 7 hours in a mask all day, where they can't eat or drink in a classroom, where they can't be next to their friends or even have like a regular full-on recess. So there's a lot of stress going around, and there's a lot of things that we need to talk about. So I'm a big fan of just putting things out there. I want to share things that are coming up when I talk to kids and when I'm running workshops, and listen, right off the bat, this is not about right or wrong. This is not about judgment. This is just an invitation of perspective and conversation. So by any means, what everybody believes is what they believe, and that's great. That's good for you and your family. However, there are things floating around our kids' heads as parents, questions about being vaccinated or not being vaccinated. I just had a conversation, I think he was 10, and he is worried, his family, they're not vaccinated, and he's concerned when his friends find out that they're going to leave him and not want to be his friends. So now he's hiding it and making up stories about the vaccine. And you might not think your kids even think about the vaccine, but let me tell you, they are. They're worrying about wearing face masks. Like I said, not eating or drinking. They're sharing ideas about, well, how do we know if school's even going to be open? How do we know we're going to make it through another year? And what if they shut down again? How are they going to, survive at home? There's so many different topics rolling around. And not only with COVID, you guys, our kids are talking about, I'm sure you guys are aware of all the pronouns and all the stuff going around with
I think our host is frozen. Just give us a moment and she'll be right back. Give us another second. She'll be back up and running. Sorry about that.
connecting. So you got it. All right. So let's try that again. So guys, I'm actually on my device, my phone right now, because everything just went off. So I'm not going to be able to share a presentation with you. But however, let's wrap up this conversation. I want to introduce some skills that could actually help you guys moving forward. Now, I know I was just talking to you about a lot of topics that are on all of our minds and what we're all facing with. And the truth is we just need to be able to be flexible and talk about it. So with going back to school, one of the biggest keys that I've learned working with kids over the last year and a half with online learning and stuff is truly the word flexibility. Everyone is really concerned about education and academics, and that's okay. Academics are important. I just want to remind you guys not to forget about the emotional well-being of the kids as well. It's important to talk about and make time to connect with your child, especially on a regular basis. So if that's daily or weekly, whatever works for you guys, but include your child in the conversation. Make them a part of the buy-in. And I'll give you an example. So my boys and I, we connect every evening. We usually always, dinner time's our time. We chat over dinner. There's no devices. But also at night, if there's, before bed, we all sit down or separately, depending on the night or what's going on. But open that door to communicate with them and ask questions. Not just, oh, how's your day? But get curious, be specific, ask about how they're feeling about the classroom. What was it like to be in a mask all day? What's the workload like? How's teaching? Or how was recess? Get engaged and ask specific questions. The other part about flexibility with education and schooling is every school's different. Some of your kids are going to be slammed with homework. Some of them aren't going to be doing that much homework. It's all going to be done in school. But whatever that looks like, you have complete flexibility in your home. And here's the deal. What you do in your home to ensure success and to make sure that you guys are healthy and happy and surviving all these uncertainties is what you do in your home. And what works for you is not going to work for me. So together, you guys get to create a format to be successful in your home. So don't be afraid to have a conversation with your kids and ask them what they need. And I'm going to share another example with you. My 13-year-old, when he comes home, he needs to decompress. He tends to have some issues at school sometimes and gets in trouble, whatnot. So for him, it's a lot of pressure. He's like, I'm always on edge. I'm trying to be the best I can be. So when I come home, he's like, Mom, just shut up and leave me alone for a little while. Okay. Yeah, that's hard to hear your kids say. However, I could be flexible. So fine, you need your space. Well, then let's talk about what I need so that we both win. Right. So come home, take you 30, 40 minutes, no problem. But by this time, your work needs to be done and I need to see it because I have to check in with the facilitators. So what we do is we create an agreement together, being flexible around what he needs and what my desired outcome is as the parent. So don't think that it all has to be perfect. Come home, do your work, drill down, be willing to be flexible with everything at hand right now. My other son, he likes just to knock everything out of the park. He wants to get it all done and then he wants to be left alone. He wants to have his gaming time. He doesn't want to be nagged about being on his game. So what we had to do is we had to have a conversation and we had to create agreements around time, right? Because I'm a parent that likes to have structure and we run off of agreements. However, that does not mean that he's going to spend 6 hours in front of a game. I have different expectations than that. And it's just not, in my opinion, in our home, that's not how we do things. So the word flexibility, guys, is really powerful right now. No one way to do anything right now. So do whatever you need to do to win. Set up your kids to win, set up yourself to win. And in order to do that, again, it requires flexibility and communication. That leads me to the next skill that I wanted to introduce you to. And I apologize for not having my presentation up. But remember that word open space or safe talk. If you can create a space for you and your child to be able to talk about anything, any topic, anything, no rules, no punishment, no judgment. These are the key factors when you're dealing with trying to open up and establish an open communication space. I call it safe space. And the reason I call it that is my kids have permission to come to me with anything, any topic. I don't care if it's sex, if it's porn, if it's drugs. I don't care if it's suicidal thoughts, which that was my experience. In our safe space talk, my kids have full permission to come to me, ask me whatever they need to ask me, use whatever language they need to use so that we can work through it, so that I can educate, so I can connect to our kids. And I'm sure some of you are aware of this. They're slammed with so much constant information. Technology is part of it. Friends, school, they're not in your presence 1000% of the time. You can't control everything. And let me share this also, even if you're a parent and you have restrictions and you have passwords and codes set up on your devices, which is great. I use all those features as well. Our kids are geniuses. They know how to wipe their history. They know how to get around blocks. But not only that, not every parent uses those tools. So our kids are exposed and gets introduced to language and topics and content that you may not necessarily like. But here's the deal. What's happening is most of the kids don't have a platform to communicate. So instead of being able to come home and talk to you about it, they're more afraid of getting in trouble or something. So they hold it all in. So now we have our kids being slammed with adult content and all this information, holding it in, and it's all rolling around in their head and they don't know what to do with it. And it's a lot of pressure. That is the power of introducing safe space to your kids. It takes a little bit of work. And the most important thing I want to encourage you is don't take it harshly when they don't trust you right away. If you happen to be in a family where you guys just don't communicate or you're not fully connected with that open talk, this is a skill that takes time and it takes vulnerability and it takes both of you wanting to try. And actually, I don't like that word try. It takes both of you choosing to show up for one another and putting it out there. And parents, it starts with us. So for me, the conversation went like this, you guys Safe space, you could talk about whatever you want. I don't care about the language or the content. I'm going to always be honest with you, and we're going to work through it. So you're not going to get in trouble. There's no punishment. There's no judgment. You simply listen and allow them to come to you and express, to talk, to share whatever they need in that moment. And you get to just be their sounding board. Now, that's hard sometimes as a parent, but I have to tell you, it is probably one of the biggest skill sets that is missing from homes right now. And when I'm working in groups of kids, it's the one thing that they're asking for. They want to, believe it or not, they want a space to be able to tell you what's going on and what they're dealing with, because they don't know. They're dealing with this content, adult content, and all these unknowns. And they get so much shit from everybody. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody's parents is, telling their kids what's right, what's wrong. And then you add in social media and the constant information that they're being flooded with. It's a lot of weight for our kids to carry. So giving this platform, developing the skill of safe space, gives you guys a point of reference to come together and to share how you feel. And parents, we get to do this too. Open up and connect. Don't be afraid to say you don't know. I think that's one of the biggest things right now with our kids is they say, well, my mom always thinks she has to have it together. I could see her bullshit. She's lying, and our kids see right through everything. So it's better if you include them in your feelings. Hey, you know what? I don't really know. I don't know what's going on with COVID. I don't know what school's going to be like. I don't know what it's going to be like for you in a classroom right now. But what I do know is that we could talk about it and we could figure it out together. And if we're honest and open together, till we feel safe enough to have those kind of conversations, then together we can figure out what to do. The more that you allow your child to see you as a human being and understand that you don't know either, that you're feeling the unknowns, the uncertainties, that it's normal. All of us are feeling the same way right now because there's a lot of things we just don't know. But include them in that conversation. Build that safe space so that they have a place to come to talk to you. And no, you got to make sure that they know there's no judgment, there's no punishment. You're truly just trying to build a connection so that you can all successfully make it through this new normal that we're all facing. This skill, I truly feel, this saved my kid's life. Our communication skills were in place. He felt safe enough to talk to me that he told me he wanted to kill himself. And as he told me why, that was a whole nother conversation. So the power behind setting up a space like this and learning and building these skills can truly save a life. It can be a deal breaker between your son or your daughter or you struggling with anxiety, holding it all in, trying to figure it all out by yourself. It gives a space for you guys to connect and figure it out together. One thing is for certain, guys, we need each other to survive all of this. Parenting is not a one-man show. Parenting, it truly takes a village, and it takes perspective, and it takes raw conversations and skills. It takes not being so hard on yourself, to give yourself permission to not know, and to realize that no matter what you're dealing with in your home, no matter what problems, no matter what stresses, you're not the only one. And I guarantee you, based on my experience, you're not alone. Most of us are dealing with the same stuff. We just don't all talk about it. So reach out, connect, ask for support, because that is what we're here for. Give that to your son, give that to your daughter, give that to your family. Set up that safe space. That skill is a life changer. That leads me into the next part I wanted to introduce you guys to, and that's just really building on to communication. Obviously, communication is everything. It's having clear expectations with your kids around school, around life, around your home, around chores, whatever that looks like, whatever you're talking about, be clear with what you want from them, with what you expect from them. I'm going to share a story with you because stories are the easiest to learn from, in my opinion. So I have two boys. We all have house chores. We work together. We run off of agreements. My son's chore is after dinner, you clean the table. Right now, when I say clean the table, I know what that means for me, right? You're going to clear the food, you're going to clear the dishes, you're going to wipe the table, you're going to put away the placemats, right? I automatically know what that means. My goodness, you guys, for the life of me, my son couldn't clean the table. And we were starting to have this back and forth arguments over it. I'm like, what's so hard about cleaning the table? So finally, I said, you know what? I'm going to clean it tonight. Let me show you. Let me show you what it means to clean a table. And I walked him through it step by step. And he looked at me and he goes, why couldn't you have just done that in the first place? Why couldn't you have just told me specifically what you needed from me? I felt like an ass, because what we have to remember, our kids, their brains, we're going to talk physiology for a minute. Their brains are growing. They're developing. Not all of them have executive functioning skills, which is the ability to prioritize and know how to do things to achieve a certain task. As an adult, as a parent, we have our perceptions. We know what we mean when we say things. So we automatically know the outcome, their desired outcome. But our kids don't. So what I did by not showing him the expectation that I had for his chore was I allowed him to create a story that he wasn't good enough, that nothing he did ever made me happy, that no chore he ever does is good enough because I'm never happy. It's never meets my standards. So he automatically started creating this story, and it couldn't have been further from the truth. So my advice with your communication skills and everything, I mean, keep it simple. I'm sure you guys have heard of the KISS method, right? KISS, keep it simple, stupid. I live by that because it's truly that simple. If you're clear about what you want, the desired outcome, then the kids know. Then they don't need to worry about meeting your expectations or being good enough for you. And you're setting them up to win. I work with kids. Some of them require photographs. Some of them require photos of knowing what done looks like so that they know the end result that they're supposed to achieve. Again, guys, it's being flexible and it's getting creative. It's thinking outside of the box to set you and your family up to win, whatever that looks like. There's no one size fits all. So I invite you, as you're building on these skills, as you're facing all these unknowns and uncertainties, get curious with your kids, but involve them in the conversations. Don't be afraid to say you don't know. Share with them how you feel. What you're doing is you're allowing them to feel normal, because I am that mom that I'm pretty strong. And up until our whole ordeal with the suicide stuff and all that language and the growth we've done, I never really let my kids see me cry or stress. And that was my way of protecting them. I didn't want them to worry. I don't want them to stress. That's my job as a parent, to control that. That's my job to handle all that stuff. You just need to that everything's okay and blah, blah, blah. But the truth is that made things worse, because what it did was it made them feel inferior, weaker, worthless. Like I wasn't giving them permission to feel, because I never let them see me feel, if that makes sense. So the more connected that you are with your kids and honest you are, the more you're going to set yourself up to win, both of you. Now, the other part with this communication deal and this whole safe space and talking together, parents, this is hard for us. When you're in this kind of space, or if your kids are sharing with you stuff, sometimes you got to take off your parenting hat. When you're a parent, it comes with a heavy toll, right? We automatically assume the role of a parent, and we have a list of what that means. Sometimes if your kid, like for example, when mine told me, I just need you to shut up and leave me alone. Was that the nicest way to say it to me? No. Did it offend me? Yes. Did I get angry with him? No, because we were in safe space. He had permission to speak freely. That was our agreement. So it's about not getting defensive. It's about being open, realizing your kids don't have the skills to control their language. They're going to use words like fuck sometimes, and they're going to tell you to shut up sometimes. However, you can use that as an opportunity to talk and say, hey, you know what? I wouldn't say that to you. Maybe you can find a different way to say that to me. And these are the skills that you get to learn and develop together in these spaces of safe talk. Does anybody have any questions? You guys, since I'm on my phone, I can't see a chat. But I hope some of this is landing for some of you guys. I can't see anybody's faces because of the technology glitches that I'm having. But Phyllis, are we good? Are there any questions in the chat so far? Or Nicole?
We don't have any questions in the chat so far.
Okay, excellent. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, it's really difficult to expect your kids to be honest and open with you if you're not willing to be somewhat honest and open with them. Now, I'm not saying you disclose everything and you tell them the whole world or whatnot, but I am saying that you can and you should allow them to see you as a human being. So when you're having these conversations, leave it open-ended to be vulnerable with them. Remember, the deal is, guys, with dealing with all these uncertainties and the unknowns, it's giving them the space to verbalize what's in their heads. What I hear most from the kids, and actually the parents too, you might find this fascinating. We all want the same things. Your kids want this, I want this, you want this. We want to be listened to. We want to be validated. We want to be heard, right? None of us want to be dictated to or talked down to or at or controlled, so to speak. So the communication piece and the language is actually super powerful. I'm talking one word can shift your entire household. And I'll give you another example of this in my house. If I use the word rule, my kid, he automatically fights. It's like, you're not going to control me. That's it's like, it's a power struggle. So rather than trying to tackle that, what we did is like, you know what, fine, let's make some agreements. Because when I use the word agreement, he feels now that he's not being controlled, so to speak, but he's choosing to participate. He's getting to exercise his power of being an individual, right? He's a teenager now. They're looking for that independence. So literally one word can shift your entire conversation. One word can shift the entire flow of your home, if that makes sense. It's that powerful. And listen, these are skills that take time to develop. Don't for 1 second think you have to have it all figured out. There are so many out of the box approaches to how to set up house agreements and how to win with your kid. There are so many different variations that you can play with school that get you the same end result. You just got to get creative. So I invite you guys to reach out with questions. Don't think you have to figure this out all on your own. And better yet, even if you feel like you don't want to talk about sex, or you don't want to open up a safe space, or you don't want this kind of open communication in your home, that's fine too. There's no judgment here. Then what you need to do, what I would highly recommend you do, is make sure that you have somebody in your life that you trust enough that you can direct your kid to. Because there's no getting around the bottom line here, that our kids, the stuff that's going on in their head, they need some space to be able to express in. Therapy is great. I know a lot of people are in therapy. I also have a list of parents that can't get their kids in to see a therapist. They're on a 6-month waiting list. I'm working with kids that, there's some raw statistics I'm always big about sharing, just so you guys are aware of what's what, because sometimes we get so wrapped up in what we're dealing with that some people don't know these facts. But youth suicide rates are at an all-time high right now. So is self-harming, so is abuse, so is self-medicating. And you may think, oh, not my kid. Oh no, mine's only 9 or 10. But let me tell you, I've been in middle school classrooms. I've been working with 5 to 10-year-olds. I don't want you to ever think, no, not my kid, because you just don't know. And that's why the importance of connection and communication, especially during these uncertain times right now, is life-changing. It is crucial, guys. It is really vital, these skills to start implementing. And like I said, you don't have to do it all on your own. If you're currently facing some struggles in your house, or if you're just so overwhelmed, or you're having discipline issues, or your kid's acting out, or you just don't flat talk to your kid, reach out. Let's have a conversation. There's nothing too dark or too heavy that we can't talk about that we can't figure out a direction to help you take a step and another step and another step. Don't sit and drown in silence. Know that we're all in the same boat right now. Also, know that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're a parent. It doesn't matter if you're 5. It doesn't matter if you're 50, 16. You're a human being first. We're all dealing with confusion. We're all dealing with loss of control, even though control is really an illusion. But we're all dealing with uncertainties. We don't know what anything is going to look like in 6 months, in 2 months. And we've got to take the steps anyways. Our kids are going back to school. They're going to be feeling the stress. Parents, we're feeling the stress. Let's talk about it. Let's be real. Again, I invite you, get curious with your language. Hit pause for a second. As a parent, this only takes a split second to do. And remember what I said, this is not about judgment. This is not about, oh my God, I'm such a bad parent, I yelled today. Or, oh my God, I said, shut up. Or, oh my gosh, I don't talk at all. This is not about that. This is about perspective, to give you the opportunity to think outside the box and to start creating something different. Because that's one of the beautiful pieces that came out of all this COVID upside downness. We get to recreate and we get to build relationships and we get to create success within our homes. And that looks like whatever it needs to look like for you and your family. So today, I apologize for the technology inconveniences. I'm really hoping that a couple of these concepts landed for you guys. I would love to extend again, if there's any questions. Sometimes the best learning we do is just to talk together in a conversation. If there's anything that you want to vent about or ask about specifically, and we could talk about that. I invite you guys to connect with me. I'm always open to having a conversation if I could be of any support whatsoever. The last thing I want any of you to do is to think that you're alone, solo. Don't ever think that you're dealing with behaviors that are too embarrassing to talk about or feel too shameful to admit. Please don't think that you're a failure or that you're just, don't personalize it about you and don't make it all about you. Life is happening. All these unexpected issues are happening. We get to do it together and work together. So reach out for support. You guys, my contact information, because I don't have a slide presentation, I'll put it in the chat or I'll ask Phyllis to do that. You can contact me via phone or email, but I'm here for support, always willing to help if I can help. I have upcoming workshops and presentations that are always full of insightful conversations. The most important thing to know, guys, there's no right or wrong moving forward. Know that you have flexibility. Know that you get to choose what works for you and your family. And you don't have to be, it's not a one size fits all. You get to create whatever we need to create to be successful in our home. So on that note, I think, guys, I'm going to wrap that up. I welcome questions. I hope this was somewhat beneficial for you guys.
Cassie, I was going to
Phyllis?
Cassie, I was actually going to ask if you could maybe just briefly talk about how we can set up the safe space, kind of like a few steps that we can go through as a parent to maybe begin that for the first time. That might be helpful. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So when you set up a safe space, you're going to have a conversation piece. So a couple steps. You can't just walk up to your kid and be like, let's talk about real shit. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. You have to prime the conversation and prep it. You're going to have to, depending on where you're at in your relationship now, you're going to have to own that. So an example would be, communication is important to me. So for me, with my kids, it went something like this. I go, listen, I know you guys are dealing with a lot of stuff. There's a lot of language. There's a lot of porn. There's sex. There's all these topics that I hear you guys talking about. Can we just agree right now that no matter what questions you have, you can come and ask me? Because I want to make sure you know the facts. I want to make sure you know, or you're getting the real information. And I want you to know that you can come to me with anything. I don't care what it is. If you've never talked to your kid, if there's zero connection, then you need to own that. You need to be like, it might look like something, guys, you're facing a lot of uncertainties, and I really want to work on our relationship. I'd like to talk more. I'd like to be able to connect more with you and share with you kind of how I feel and what's going on. We're both dealing with a lot right now. Maybe we can start talking for 5 minutes every night. And you can share whatever you want. You've got to be clear with a few things though, guys. You've got to make sure that they know there's no judgment. They're not going to be in trouble. You have to open up the platform for language. So if you're going to allow, like I allow, free reign over language, I don't care if they cuss. I don't care if it's sex related. It does not matter as long as they come and they get out whatever they were just introduced to or they saw, so that we can talk about it and they can be educated about it. So I don't know if that helps, but you've got to be very clear that they're not going to get in trouble. You're there to listen. You literally just want to have more connection. The other big thing is you got to be careful with your reactions. The first time, I think my son was 9 when he asked me about at school, the kids logged on to this live video chat. Some man started masturbating in front of all of them. My kid came home and he's like, you won't believe what has happened. So he told me about the chat and I'm like, fine, we could talk about masturbation. Doesn't matter. Can we talk about that the kids were walking around the campus with their video chat open, which means that whoever is seeing them now has insight to their location. If there is a address, if there is a school name, now we're opening up this door to bigger issues, which is why the communication piece is so important. So you got to make sure they know they won't get in trouble. There's no judgment. And you got to watch your reactions. And truly, sometimes they ask me stuff that just floors me. I don't want to talk about some of this stuff with my 10-year-old, but the truth is that's what he's faced with. We have to talk about it. And if there's ever something they say that I need a minute, I'll say that. I go, you know what? Give me just a second. Let me process this. Let me think about how I want to address this one. I need just a second. And I'm honest about it. I don't bullshit. You've got to be honest and real yourself if that's what you're asking from them. So I hope that gave you guys a few steps, and feel free to reach out to me. I would love to walk you through the process, both of you. Sometimes it takes that. Sometimes it takes a secondary person on the outside that's not emotionally wrapped into the family dynamic to help separate out the emotions and just to land the skill set. Because once you have the foundation for the skill set, then it becomes a puzzle piece. You each start putting a piece to the puzzle together, and then you start building that together. Did that give you guys some action steps to be able to move forward on creating that?
Yes, thank you. Thanks so much.
Yes, of course. Of course. And what I could do, Nicole, is I could, on that presentation of my slides, I do have a few bulleted out action steps. I can send that to you so you can post that as well, if that would be helpful.
That would be, thank you.
Yes, of course. So guys, I know we're wrapping up on time here. Phyllis, is there any other questions that you would like me to answer? Or I'm going to turn this back over to you.
Okay, well, I just like to say that we thank you so much, Cassie, for sharing your tools and techniques that will help parents and children, and actually all of us, better understand our youth and cope with COVID-19 and deal with back in school pressures. What a great workshop. And I would like to say thank you. So moving on, you need to mark your calendars for our last Life Forward workshop. I'm reading from last year's, excuse me, for our next Life Forward workshop, which was really our second workshop of our Zonta year. It's scheduled for Saturday, September the 11th from 10 to 11:15 a.m. The title will be Awareness, Recognize Behaviors that Lead to Sexual Harassment and Assault. Emotional impact for high school students, college students, and adult. This week will be presented by Priscilla Benitez and Alejandra Sandoval, both mental health experts. A flyer will be distributed in the near future, and you won't want to miss this important workshop. So thanks everyone for joining us. Check our website, zontascv.org, Life Forward Workshop page, and there are previous workshop recordings there, and this one will be added to it. So thank you for coming and attending. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to say?
No.
I would like to share out loud Cassie's information. She has her email address, which is cassie@listenwithintowin.com. If anybody would like any further information, feel free to go to our website where you can have a direct link right to her information also. Thank you.
And thank you guys for having me. And I appreciate the flexibility with the technology issues.
Well,
Thank you for
that
doing it.
happens.
It
To everyone.
certainly does.